The Uncharted Territories is a podcast about seeing the unseen in the world of matter. Join me, Shara Prophet, the mind magic coach, and my partner, astrologer Scott Tejerian, as we take an esoteric look this season into the life, death, and afterlife of a variety of celebrities and public figures who lost their lives prematurely or unexpectedly.
So we're back here, Shara, for episode 3 of the John F. Kennedy Jr. episode. Episode 3 of John F. Kennedy Jr., the infamous Kennedy curse. And in the last episode, we left off talking about the events leading up to the plane crash.
Yes. And these events were happening over the course of 5 years, actually. So it was a lot going on. We left off talking about when Junior first showed up in the reading. One of the first things he showed me was him in this apartment with these guys. They were trying to get him to sign a contract. And so we were getting into what that was about. So if you guys want to go back and listen to that episode, then definitely catch that. That's the part 2. We were talking about him not wanting to sign that contract because basically they wanted him to sign it saying that he wouldn't talk. He wouldn't open his mouth, but he doesn't want to sign this thing because now it's like admitting that he knows what's going on with this.
He's incriminating himself.
Yeah, he's incriminating himself. And he's basically saying, hey, I know what's going on. I'm just not going to say anything about illegal activity, prostitution ring going on, and I'm investing in this thing, you know. So he was refusing to sign this particular contract.
Yeah.
But wanting his money back, they didn't really have all of the money to give back to him. And they wanted to give him partial payment. And he's like, fuck no, pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So I pulled cards on Rome. Remember I said Rome kept coming up?
Yeah. What was that about?
And I did look it up. They did go to Rome, him and Caroline. What? Carolyn
Carolyn is the sister. Or no, Carolyn is the wife.
This is wife. Okay.
Caroline is the sister.
I always get the two confused.
Very confusing.
So, yes. Carolyn, his wife.
Yes.
And him went to Rome, I want to say the summer prior to the plane crash.
Yes.
And I was wondering, why is this important? And when I tried to look it up online, there's nothing talking about their Rome trip. All I saw was the smiles on their faces in the picture. That was it. There's no details about what they did in Rome, why they were there. It's just showing them.
But there is photographic evidence. It's
a photograph of them coming from Rome, the summer prior to the crash. Okay, I think in August they were in Rome. So, with that being said, so the cards that I pulled that came up around Rome was strategy, the thinking man, walking away, storm warning. That storm warning card keeps coming up, right? Contract, but it was the contract card was in reverse, which is interesting. And then the first chakra, which is the root chakra card came up. Anxiety, patience, and broken heart mending.
Okay.
So very, very interesting. Now, when I spoke with Carolyn about this, she said that they went to go meet with a third party, a man who was very wise, and gave them a strategy to get out of that particular contract. She was aware of the contract as well, so she understood what was going on. So he gave them some advice on how to get out of it. And Junior discussed it with his lady friend, the one who was feeding information back to this particular group.
Yes. So he had, just to recap, he had a mistress.
He had a mistress.
That we don't know if she was connected with them before she was with Junior or if she became involved with them after she was involved with him.
Correct.
We don't know the origin.
I'm feeling like they approached her after. I'm feeling like the two of them met, had something going on. These people approached her afterward, threatened her, and made whatever they did or whatever they've promised. I don't even feel like it was a big promise of like money or anything like that. Because I mean, why would she need that? She's dating.
Yeah, he can take care of her
if she needed something.
Right.
I'm feeling more of it was some sort of threat against like her or her family or something like that, and she felt like she needed to give up this information.
Okay.
All right. So the other thing that she showed me was that they were also, even though they were still having problems in the marriage, that's, they were just having issues there. But she's also showing me a doorway opening. And she said that this doorway was opening up healing for them in the root chakra. Now, the root chakra deals with your familial traditions, your stability, anything from your childhood, wounds, first wounds, and things like that. So she's showing me this doorway opening to that root chakra healing that was starting to happen for them. And she said that it was coming to the end of an anxious time in their marriage. They were still having issues. They were trying to work. They were trying to, heal that. Okay. And she's showing me that in spirit, that this doorway has started opening. I think that Rome trip did more. It was more than just them getting advice about the contract. I feel like they might have also gotten some advice about how to mend their marriage. Because when you look at the picture of them coming off of the plane or whatever, coming back from Rome, they both have smiles on their faces. And what I picked up on that energy was kind of like a relief, like, okay, we got a way out. Like we can start to fix this. Like there's like hope almost, which is kind of sad, but that's also sometimes how it happens. Like right when you get to a point where there's hope and you start working on things, sometimes the spirit decides to let go of the body. Then it's like, okay, you learned. So good, Now
it's time to move on.
So then she says that things were far from perfect, but we were seeing each other on a deeper level and learning to understand each other's wounds, being more communicative and open.
So here's something interesting astrologically is, I'm not sure when that Rome trip was, but if you go back a year prior to the day that the plane crashed, which was July 16th, 1999, if you go back to July 16th, 1998, Saturn, the planet of responsibility and restriction, the planet that restructures whatever it touches through hard work, was moving through JFK Jr.'s 8th house, which is the house of death, which means that he was going through a difficult restructuring of his bonded energy.
Interesting.
The karmically bonded energy, because the 8th house is the house that represents karmic bonds, the bonds that you share with other people where you can't tell where you end and they begin. These bonds are formed through the sharing of intimacies, whether it be sharing a secret or the physical act of sex, the spiritual bonding that occurs there. So it's magic, it's taboo, it's the occult. That is all 8th house issues. So Saturn moving through his 8th house in July of 1998, and it was moving into alignment with Jupiter, which is the planet of expansion, the planet of luck, which was in his 4th house, which is like that root chakra energy that you're talking about. It's the house that represents your roots, your upbringing, your childhood, the ones who raised and nurtured you. So restructuring of the karmic bonds as it relates to a restructuring of your roots, your foundation, where you come from. And then 1 year later, Saturn had moved on, but Jupiter had moved right to where Saturn was.
Planet of expansion.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was like an expanded shift or transformation to his relationship with the material and the karmic bonds and his roots.
That is so interesting. And I'm wondering, with that energy of expansion as it relates to karmic bonds, is that the reason they died together?
Yeah, that's a great point. It definitely makes you think that, right? Like it was what was meant to be.
Yeah, I mean, especially the way it happened. Like, she wasn't going to go.
Yeah.
But something moved to where she's on the plane that, is going to go down and in both of their lives. Is so interesting.
Some deep karmic work happening there between Carolyn, John, and the sister.
Yeah.
Who's on board too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I would be interested in knowing what kind of past life they had together, like who they are to each other in a past life. Maybe I'll do a separate reading on that. So.
Do it.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Yeah, for sure, because that's really interesting. Okay, so she's so she said that they were stepping more, just getting a better understanding of each other and starting to open up a little bit more. And she said that we agreed to be patient with each other as we navigated through healing our broken hearts. And I can't read my own handwriting.
Take your time.
Oh, okay. So she said that they agreed to be patient with each other as they were navigating through healing their broken hearts and the wounded inner child. And she said we returned with a fresh perspective and hope for a renewed future. So that's that look that they have on their faces. And I think if I can find it, I'll send it to you so you can see what that looks like. And I'm like, oh, okay. So they something happened on that trip that shifted them in a way, know? And so the other question that I asked was, what was your emotional and mental state days before the crash? Cards pulled, door to spirit, indecision, all tied up, third chakra, instability, but desiring to move toward your desires. Door to value, which was also in the reverse. So remember, I'm just going to backtrack for a minute.
Yeah, backtrack to the contract was reversed. So what does that mean?
That means that they got a way out of it.
They found a way out of it?
They found a way out of it after having that conversation with whoever this wise man was in Rome. That was the contract in reverse. They got advice of how to get out of it.
So they got advice on how to get out of it.
How to get out of it.
We don't know if they did get out of it.
I do not know if they got out of it.
Okay.
Not sure if they got out of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So the other card that came in reverse was door to value. Okay. And then we have the angel of balance also in reverse. Attachments also in reverse, okay, which could mean a feeling of detachment, which is what I picked up on, them feeling detached. And also, if this is days before death, of course something is happening on an energetic level where you are detaching, you're releasing, you're letting go of attachments to things because you're not about to be in the body anymore.
That, I mean, if I'm remembering correctly, I feel like you said that on our first episode with JFK Jr.'s dad, John F. Kennedy. Like in the days or the week leading up, he felt it very detached. He wasn't sure who he could trust. He knew that something was going on, but he wasn't getting the full picture of it. But he wasn't like panicked by it.
Right.
He was just kind of like, okay,
Yeah, there's a knowing.
Yeah.
There's a knowing whether you know what's going to happen or not. There is just the soul knows that time is up. You know, it's time to shuffle off and do something else now.
And there's so much similarity to me between just of reading the biographies of JFK Jr. and Bruce Lee. And, you know, they're both Sagittarius suns. So they have this like kind of, you know, this can't stop moving energy. You know, it's the mutable energy. So they're always like on the go. They've got so many things going on at once. And I don't know if it was, you know, just the brilliance of the writers and the way that they wrote these autobiographies or these biographies, but it builds to a crescendo where it's like when they finally die, it's like you can finally exhale. You know, because it's like there's so much tension going on in their lives leading up to the death. That the death is like, you know, popping the champagne cork. It's finally letting off the pressure. And so that would explain a lot about the detachment that happens before death. When you think about somebody, I think the best example would be if you think about somebody who has decided to take their own life and they start selling everything. They start, you know, giving stuff away, saying goodbye to people or whatever. It's that release of the attachment to this lifetime. And so I think even if you're not aware that it's your last day on earth or that last day is coming, there is this emotional and like energetic release of things. You're just kind of, you know, and this is what this is speaking to, of that card coming, you know, attachments in reverse. So just feeling detached, feeling like you're ready to just kind of let things go. And another thing interesting about, from the astrological perspective, JFK Jr. was an Aquarius moon and Carolyn was an Aquarius rising. And Aquarius is that sign that is associated with the word detachment because it's very logical. It's not getting caught up in the emotions of it all. It's just very matter of fact, sticking with the facts, thinking about it more than feeling it.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of natural for them to have that experience at their disposal.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know she had Aquarius in her chart, so that would explain a lot.
She's an Aquarius rising.
Okay.
But she's a Cancer moon. So her moon's in a position of power because it's in the sign that it rules. So she is somebody who is very emotional. But if you didn't get past that first layer, the ascendant, then you didn't know that about her. She would come off as very detached and you know, wanting to connect socially in the community, being a part of the community, and putting out that face that can be somewhat rebellious, but also somebody who's a really great communicator.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then the final card is Broken Heart. Okay. So there was lots of healing that needed to happen, both individually and in the relationship. And when we talk about that door to spirit, it's not just about opening up the doorway to your spiritual awakening, but it's also stepping through to the other side. And that signifies leaving the earthly realm, crossing over to the other side, you know, whether that's physically through death as we know it or spiritually through enlightenment. So I did. Okay, I'll wait for that. I'm going to wait for that one. I'm not going to bring it up right now. Go back up here. And so there was also this loss of hope, disappointment. They thought that they were on the track to improvement. So that's Carolyn that's showing up with her heart broken. There was a lot of indecision about staying together, which way to move. So they were kind of at this crossroads these days leading up to the crash. She thought that they were on this road to healing, but it was like things were just tightening and tightening and tightening and tightening, you know. So then all that card all tied up shows them being bound emotionally and mentally. And these are like self-imposed. This is like a self-imposed prison. feeling trapped, like there's no way out. But having this desire to move forward towards happiness, towards that freedom, but not knowing how to get there. Also, not recognizing their own value in each other, in themselves and each other. Feeling out of balance, again, detached, buried, the detachment buried under pain and confusion. So this was like all of the undercurrent of emotion, mentally, and, physically that they were experiencing during these days leading up. So it was bad. It was,
it sounds like
it was bad. Yeah, it sounds like a bunch of heartbreak. Yeah. And so I asked Junior, did you crash the plane on purpose? Because after all of that came up, I'm like, well, shit. And
honestly, before you even answer, I just want to say,
okay,
in the way that, the book that I read by Stephen Gillen, The Life of John F. Kennedy Jr., America's Reluctant Prince by Stephen M. Gillen. So when I read this book, that's how I kind of felt towards the end reading it, is like just a feeling like, fuck it, like I'm sick of this shit, like I don't care anymore. I felt that from the book. I don't even know if the author was trying to convey that or if it's just something I was picking up energetically from reading this, but that's what I felt.
Yeah. I felt it too. That's why I was like, dude, did you crash? That's why I asked flat out, like,
right?
Did you crash the plane on purpose? Because fuck, gosh,
totally.
All of this turmoil you're feeling internally, So that's interesting that you picked up on that energy too.
Yes, because, I'm glad you asked that question.
Yeah, because I got a vision in my head of, and what he said no, not consciously.
Yeah.
But maybe unconsciously.
Yeah. I totally feel that. I totally feel that, because it's one of those things where it's like, not consciously, but unconsciously, it just seemed so reckless.
Yeah.
And so careless. Yeah. Like they were supposed to leave during the day when it was still light outside. They didn't leave until the evening when it was starting to get dark, and then it got dark. And then they're just flying into a cloud. Apparently he didn't know it was going to be cloudy. Yeah. The weather forecast was clear, but, the weather can change. And that as somebody that lives in that part of the country by the ocean. Yeah. If you're flying at night, you know that there's a chance that, it might be clear.
And in the summertime, like the storms on the East Coast are ridiculous.
You live there.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The clouds can roll in. So what's the rush? Why not? You know what? Let's just wait till tomorrow. Safer conditions. But then, you're flying up there and it's cloudy, and I don't know, you just lose focus. You just kind of feel like, who cares? Yeah. Yeah. Unconsciously, not saying consciously, but yes, I totally felt that.
And that's what he said. He didn't consciously do it, but unconsciously there was this, and what he also said was everything else was crashing down. Everything else was crashing down around him.
That's exactly how it felt in the book. It's like his marriage was crumbling. Yeah. His magazine was crumbling. Yeah. He was scrambling to find a new publisher because his contract with the old publisher was running out. Didn't really have a lot of suitors. So it's like his business is crumbling. His marriage is crumbling. Yeah. And
then all the other shit we don't even know about, especially with this contract, that other stuff that we don't even know about. Like none of that stuff is like written down or reported. Like that's just stuff that he was going through privately.
Yes, we don't know the private stuff.
We don't know the private stuff. We know the
public stuff. Yeah. But that just because what's public doesn't mean that that's all that there is to know.
No, there's absolutely. There's if what's being reported is happening, imagine what's happening behind closed doors that you don't know about.
Exactly.
So it's
like the tip of the iceberg.
It's the tip of the iceberg.
And so when you think about it like that, and it just makes me go back to like what we were saying in the last episode. you look at somebody like JFK Jr. and you're like, wow, such privilege. He is America's reluctant prince. The guy had everything. It's like, I don't think people understand, anyone that thinks that, how much pressure it was to be JFK Jr. Like, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't really wish that to anyone.
No.
I mean, that's not an easy life.
No.
It's super challenging.
No, I don't want that.
I mean, and so when you just think about what we do know, marriage crumbling, business crumbling, like
drug addiction, alcohol,
having that come to the surface of reality, it's like, I mean, that's just a lot for one person to handle that's in that sort of status.
Absolutely.
It's elite on his own level.
Yeah, absolutely. And still dealing with the tragic, sudden death of his father at such a young age and never really working through that. So dealing with all of those things emotionally, this goes back to everything that we say in every episode, that dealing with stuff emotionally, it shows up in your physical life.
Yes.
It shows up. He didn't necessarily have any like body extreme like illnesses with him. He had pain and things like that, in the body from injuries, but there wasn't any medical illnesses attached to it. But it comes out in a plane crash. And he said, well, everything else in my life was crashing down.
Exactly. And there's the metaphor that it happened just a few weeks or a month before.
Yeah.
When, he got that warning. He was flying one of these machines called a Buckeye, where it's basically like it looks like a lawnmower with a big fan on the back and a parachute. Oh. And you can fly these things. I don't know why anyone would.
That sounds scary. Okay.
But he crashed his, dropped it from 200 feet or something.
Oh my goodness.
Or maybe 100 feet. I don't know. But it was at least 100 feet. It shattered his ankle, his leg. And so he'd just come out of a cast when he got in the plane, the one that he crashed. So that to me is like a soft lesson, even though it's not really a soft lesson. If you break your leg, break your ankle, that's telling you
stop,
slow down, stop, change direction. And you brought up a great point. The trauma that he dealt with in losing his father publicly, murdered, taken from him completely unexpectedly, that he did not fully integrate and heal from that experience.
Yeah.
At the time of the crash, Chiron, which is the wound, and the ancient wisdom that is unlocked through healing that wound, was squaring, which is a very stressful alignment. It's like a fight. Yeah. You're squaring off with someone. It was squaring his Chiron, JFK Jr.'s Chiron, and his moon, and his Uranus. So when JFK Jr. was born, Chiron was conjunct, meaning it was at the exact same degree in the same sign as his moon. So that indicates a wound to his childhood, to his upbringing, and both of those are directly opposite Uranus, the planet of the unexpected. So it's like an unexpected wound in your childhood that affects your daily life because it's in the sixth house. Yeah. It's in the sixth house, which is the daily routine. And Uranus, the unexpected, is in the 12th house, his unconscious. So it's a wound to his unconscious, to his sovereignty, because Uranus is in Leo, that's sovereignty, in relation to the community, because Chiron and the moon are in Aquarius, and his daily life. So these 3 planets in his chart were being squared by Chiron.
Oh, Lordy.
So he was being forced to take a really active look at the wounding that was going on within him. Yeah. And when you look at what was going on with his marriage, I mean, you could draw a direct line to what happened to him when he was a child. Yeah. From that to there.
Absolutely.
And so this is why I always encourage people, like when you have an issue in your present life, remember the last time you felt that way. And then remember the first time you felt that way. And you have to go back there and be there for your younger self.
Absolutely.
To integrate that experience, no matter how painful.
Yeah, you have to connect the dots backwards, point of origin, deal with it.
And he was moving away from it.
Yeah.
And so he had the first accident, the Buckeye crash, and then the final accident.
And it makes sense that he shattered his leg because the leg region of the body, if there's any issues in that region of the body, it's usually to get you to stop or slow down or to get you moving. Like, you make a move or sit still and stop. So the body is always trying to tell us something. It's always talking to us, telling us, giving us messages, even accidents is the body's way of saying, hey.
This is just too wild, Shara, because he broke his ankle and his wound, Chiron, is in Aquarius. Guess what part of the body Aquarius rules?
The feet.
The ankle.
The ankle. Oh, wow. The ankle specifically?
The ankle.
Oh, wow.
The ankle.
Okay.
The feet is Pisces.
Okay.
So his wound was in Aquarius.
Wow.
And when he crashed that Buckeye, he broke his ankle.
Wow.
And the ankle is ruled by Aquarius.
Yeah.
So that's a clear, direct line to pay attention to what is going on with your wound here. Things cannot be the same as before.
Yep.
You have to move differently, act differently.
Or don't move at all. In his case.
Exactly. That's
stop
the thing. Ankle.
Moving.
Stop moving.
He was a constant moving, constant adventure, constant risk taker. And it's almost as if he was trying to stop himself, trying to put a stop to it some kind of way unconsciously. And I feel like that's ties into what he said about the plane.
Yes.
I didn't consciously crash it, but unconsciously I think I did.
Yes. It was like he was maybe constantly putting himself in these risky situations.
To end the pain.
Yeah.
Instead of just dealing with it. But when you don't have the tools and the emotional intelligence or the patience to sit through the discomfort and I tell people all the time, get comfortable with the discomfort.
That is it right there.
Just get comfortable with it because it's going to happen. So when it happens, just, like, okay, here we go. Let me just sit with it and see where it takes me. What is it trying to tell me?
Yes.
Most people don't want to do that, though.
No, but then what ends up happening is the pain you end up suffering through is way worse than the discomfort that you were unwilling to sit through.
Absolutely.
Because it only gets more intense.
It does.
Until you pay attention to the tension that is going on within you. So sitting with that discomfort that's
easy.
The key ingredient right there.
I mean, it may take you, it depends on the tools that you have, who you have helping you out, what you already know about healing. But it could take you 6 days. It could take you 6 months. But I don't feel like it's going to take years and years and years and years if you decide to just sit with it and ask it questions. I tell people all the time, ask your pain questions.
That's it.
Talk to the pain, ask it questions.
Yes.
If it's a pain in your back, hey, pain, what do you need me to pay attention to? What are you trying to tell me right now? Hey, pain in my heart, I'm heartbroken. Heartbreak, what do you need from me right now? What do you need me to do to send you along your way? How can I set you free?
Yes.
Because it wants to be set free. This is the thing people don't understand. Your pain, your anger, whatever you want to I tell people to try to morph it into some sort of entity or form that they can identify or see. And then understand that it's tired too. It's like, I've been here for a long time trying to tell you things.
It's saying, let me out of the house.
Let me go.
Yeah.
Let me go on vacation. Please. Yes. I'm ready to lay down and die. It's tired because it's been trying to get your attention all this time. So if you're not going to do yourself a favor, do the pain a favor and let it go.
It sounds so simple when you say it. And I know that the work is hard, but what's amazing is it's not normal for us to think that way. We're not taught to think that way.
No,
and when
not.
you explain it like that, it's like, Oh my, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense. Yes. What are you trying to tell me? Why is my back hurting?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you hurting? What do I need to learn? Please help me understand so I can release this pain from my body.
Yes. Because that's all it's doing is trying to give you a message.
Yes.
That's why it's there.
Yes.
And when you start asking the right questions, it's like it will talk back to you. It will tell you exactly what it needs and what you've got to do to let it go. It will tell you.
Yes. I love it.
Yeah. So, if anybody is out there dealing with something that you've been dealing with for a long time, start talking to whatever that is. If it's an emotional pain or a physical pain,
Yes.
talk to it. It's a thing. It's got legs and arms and a head,
Yep.
Because we've been feeding it for so long.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Sage
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shara. I love that.
You are welcome. I use it for myself quite often.
It's a great reminder. I do too.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
I know that when I have some sort of pain in my body, it's like, okay, we're moving through a growth period right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to pay attention to what this is,
Yep.
and interact with it and work with it and adjust and move through it, move it out.
Absolutely. It's us expanding.
Mm-hmm.
It's the body it's the energy trying to expand, and it stretches the body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if there's anything in the body that's like resistant or hasn't been moved in a while, is waking up that energy, it's going to hurt.
Yes.
It's a growing pain.
It's growing pains.
Yeah.
It's like you're a little kid and you don't fit in those pants anymore.
Exactly. Do you remember being a kid and your body hurting?
Yes.
Like that shit hurt.
Yeah.
Growing up.
Exactly.
It's painful.
Yes.
Deal with
Absolutely.
it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, yes. So you did ask the question
Yeah.
if either of them were reincarnated, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Carolyn is reincarnated. She said, I needed a do-over.
Yeah.
Junior, no. Nope, did not want to. He said he does not want to come back to Earth. He wants to explore other options, still exploring, and see what's out there.
Yeah. I can't blame him.
Yeah.
I can't blame him.
I just hope that wherever he goes, that he does the work.
Well, that's the thing. Like you don't necessarily have to come back to Earth, but it doesn't mean that the lessons that you
That's
needed
right.
to learn on Earth
Exactly.
are not going to follow you to wherever you go. It's just like people say, like, well, I'm going to move to a new city. Well, you're taking your baggage with you.
Your shit.
So
with
if you're living on this planet, or some other planet, or some other sort of galactical whatever it is, your lessons don't change. Whatever you still need to learn, you need to learn. You are where you are. And so I guess that's why he's still searching for his options to...
I hope he doesn't end up in a denser realm than this one, because there are denser realms than Earth. 10 times harder than we think we got it hard here. There's some other places where it's just like literal hell, So I just hope wherever he ends up, wherever he ended up, that he's doing the work.
So do you think he's ended up somewhere? Or do you think he's still floating around out there energetically?
I'm feeling more like he's kind of floating around, just kind of seeing what his options are. I feel like he pops in and out of places, but he's not landed, not fully in.
So I want to say a couple other things about just astrologically what was going on in his chart. Mercury, the planet of the conscious mind, was squaring Neptune, the planet of the unconscious mind. So that is that, not consciously, but maybe unconsciously.
Wow.
And not really clear. There's a lack of clarity going on with him mentally on this day, with the planet of the conscious mind squaring the planet of the clouds, Neptune, the unconscious. So there's that. Venus, the planet of relationships, was squaring his sun, the giver of light, life, and vitality. So that indicates some strain in the relationship on this day.
Yeah.
And then I already mentioned the Chiron connection, which is the real kicker for me, because it's just, that one is so like in your face, obvious. You've got to do some work here. Saturn was in alignment with his Saturn. It meant he was going through a big growth period. This is one of those alignments that's indicating that you have to restructure who you are. You're turning into a new person now, literally, physically. But then Pluto, the planet of transformation, was squaring his natal Pluto. So that also indicates a very difficult transformation occurring. And
wow,
that's what happened.
Yeah. That's so crazy how it just lines up like that. I still get amazed even though I already know, but it's just, it's just like, okay. So
yes.
Yeah, well, this has
been a journey.
It's been a journey.
Shara,
it's been 3 episodes for him.
And thank you for your commitment to this.
Oh,
this
absolutely.
Is so fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Thank you to our listeners that stuck with us through all 3 episodes. And thank you to JFK Jr. and Carolyn Bessette Kennedy for meeting up with Shara and all that you were able to communicate with them. It's very fascinating.
Yes, it is. And thank you for doing all your research because you read a lot. Like you're reading like 600-page books, man. Like, oh my God. So my job is easy.
It's so, I mean, I love it because I'm like merging with this person. Like I'm feeling what it's like to be JFK Jr. I'm really getting a sense of him. And that's why when you were like, I asked him if he crashed on purpose, I was like, that's what I wanted to ask. That makes so much sense. That's how I was feeling. I was feeling the pressure from him. Is a lot. And just like, so much compassion for him and for Carolyn and their struggles. And
I know it's just so a little disappointing because, and I guess it's easy for us to say it because of what we do, but it's just like, it doesn't have to be that hard. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be that tumultuous. It's self-imposed.
Well, at the same time, the way that I work with that thought is, they had the experience they were meant to have.
This is true.
And so
absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with their experience. I have compassion for their experience. I mean, I can look at their experience and say, well, if only you did this, only you did
absolutely.
That. But they did exactly what they were supposed to do.
This is true.
And so I applaud them and commend them on their lives and her sister, even though I don't know much or anything about her, but it's been a fascinating look into...
Absolutely. And hopefully the investigation that we do helps people out there to know that it doesn't have to be that hard.
Exactly. That's what it is.
You know
right
what I
there.
mean? Like that,
so if you're struggling, if you're listening to this and you're struggling in some way, you know that you have energetic work to do and mindfully do that work.
Yeah. And you can work through it.
Yes, absolutely.
You can come out of it.
Yes.
We're here to live fulfilling, abundant lives. That is the goal.
Yes.
But, we've also agreed to go through struggles in order to remember how to do that.
Yes.
So and I think the thing that helps me if I'm going through a challenge is to know, what, you can choose to let it be easy, or you can choose to be, hard-headed and stubborn, which I usually choose the hard road because I'm just stubborn like that.
Yes.
I'm like, I want to be mad. You know what I mean?
But sometimes you have to be mad.
You do.
In order to move that energy.
Oh, absolutely.
You can't just like float through the energy. Sometimes, I just think of like childbirth. Not that I know anything about that, but like you have to push.
That's right.
It's totally uncomfortable, I imagine. And so, that's life in how you deal with life. Sometimes you have to cry, you have to get angry, you have to, explode, and that moves the energy.
It does.
Yes.
Oh my God. Rage is a powerful energy.
Yes.
If you know how to transmute rage and anger, you can make some shit happen.
Yes.
You can heal yourself fast if you learn how to transmute rage and anger.
Absolutely.
And feel like you're like a leaf floating on a breeze. You know what I mean? Like seriously, it's really interesting how we've been gifted with emotion. It's a gift. Emotions are a true gift because it's the way we manifest. Yeah.
Well, such a pleasure, Shara.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome. I'll see you next time.
Yes. Bye, y'all.
Bye. You've been listening to The Uncharted Territories, where we see the unseen in the world of matter. If you would like to support the podcast, subscribe.
We've talked a lot about the subconscious mind and the importance of healing our wounds from the past. As an energy healer and a certified hypnotherapist, I help people understand how the mind works so they can harness the energy of the subconscious and tap into their inner power and make those positive long-term changes in their lives. If you're ready to make that change, you can book a session with me by connecting at opendoorhypnosis.com. I look forward to working with you.
If you'd like to learn more about who you are, where you come from, why you're here, and what you're meant to do with your life, contact me, Scott Tejerian, at theweeklytransit.com, and we will take a close, detailed look at your astrological code. My purpose is to help you understand who you are so you can accept, appreciate, and love the divine, unique miracle that is you.